Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we're gonna start off with a little bit of correction to the last video. When I was explaining under services DHCP server, if we scroll down just a little bit and have a look at the static ARP setting, I had that mixed up with the DHCP registration, which I will show you in just a little bit further down. But what I ended up doing was got lost in translation and mixed swapped the functions for both of them. So in the previous video, I was talking about how if you enable the feature which only allows devices which are registered in your DHCP table to talk to your firewall as like an added layer of protection against unrecognized devices. This is actually the feature of pfSense that I was talking about, not the DHCP lease registration. And the DHCP lease registration is the one that allows your devices to talk to each other via domain name. So I do apologize about that. I got lost in translation. I mixed the names of it too, of those two functions. So knock on wood, it's not gonna happen anymore. But if it does, and if somebody catches that, point it out. By all means, just knock some sense into me, and I'll be more than happy to give you the podium. So sorry, this cough is still annoying me, but yeah, it is what it is. So let's get back into track then. This is the Windows client device that we have. The Windows demonstration device that we have, but we're not really gonna use this right away. So we're just gonna pull it to the side. What we're gonna focus on today is we're gonna focus on the Windows server and what we can do with it when it comes to when it comes to setting up your home domain and accessing it and controlling everything. So we're not really gonna do anything with regards to like file permission and hierarchy and so on and so forth. We're just gonna do like the surface level, set it up, make sure that it responds, connect one or two devices to the domain, in which case I have the Windows client and the Ubuntu client. We're gonna connect both of those up to the domain. We're gonna make sure that everything is working the way it should, and that we have like our little file share connected. And then we're gonna go do the same thing for TrueNAS, which is gonna be our quote-unquote dedicated dedicated file server. And the Windows server is going to be acting like as a tertiary, or maybe the other way around. We're going to put the Windows server as a primary file server on top of it being a domain controller, and then the TrueNAS could be a tertiary server. I don't know how we're going to do that yet, so let's figure it out when we get to it. In a perfect environment though, I do want to underline, because we are in a virtual environment and nothing that we do here outside of passing on the knowledge and how just everything, just an observation of how everything works, none of this is important. So the stuff that we do here is not necessarily recommended for real world. If you are applying this to real world, please make sure that if you are setting up a server for something, segregate the services that you are using. For example, if you have a Windows Server installation or Windows Server deployment that you're using for a domain controller, only use it for a domain controller. If you have a device which is dedicated to DHCP, which most of the time that would be just your gateway or your layer 3 switch, please only use that device for that. But then you have the other edge of the sword, which you have to do access control and blah blah blah. If the service is directly related to it, then yes, absolutely. But if you're doing a dedicated operation such as domain control or file share or printer server or whatever it is, keep those services segregated, because if something fails, it is not taking a large portion of your network with it. Now, that being said, let's continue with our shenanigans. So, this is a brand spanking new Windows setup server. The only thing that I did was update it to the latest cumulative update pack, I think, whatever. Anyway, so what we have to do is we need to do a little bit of I want to say like maintenance. It's just some features that I don't need to be there that are there. As you can see, it's not really anything special. We just have 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM, and that's pretty much it. Windows 22 standard with the latest OS build. And what we are going to do in this settings page is, number 1, we're going to allow remote desktop in case we want to control it from another system. And the second thing we want to do is we want to rename the PC. So because in the DHCP table I have it set up as dc.myoffice.domain, we're just gonna rename it to DC, and then it's gonna tell me that the server needs to be restarted. So we're gonna go ahead and restart that right now. For me, it's gonna take a minute or two for it to reboot, but for you it's gonna be quick. Okay, and we are back now into our Windows Server installation. So we're going to log in as the local administrative user. I hope I still remember the yes, I do still remember the password. Woo, victory. Alright, so before we begin, I just want to sort of introduce you guys to some of the requirements of having a domain controller. The first stop is that your server has to have a static IP. Now, if you don't want to go into like the network settings and set up a static IP and do this initially to every single one of your machines, when we went and we did stuff to our pfSense deployment, what we ended up doing is we kind of glossed over the static DHCP mapping, which is kind of what I want to go back to a little bit. So let's just get rid of this altogether, and boom. So oops, come on. So we are just going to have a quick chat about DHCP mapping, because this is where I want to say, I don't want to say automation, because that means that it's it would mean that something has to be performed by the machine itself, but rather than a set it and forget it feature, I hope, maybe, I don't know. So if we go under status and DHCP leases, you're going to see that I already have 2 static mappings, which are 1.101 for my domain controller and 1.102 for the file server. Basically, what that means is that no matter what, no matter how many IPs are available, no matter how many clients are requesting, pfSense will make sure that this address right here is issued specifically to the network interface card with this MAC address, always attributing it to the domain controller that is to the domain controller that is being performed by this deployment of Windows Server. So whenever we go and we whenever we go and we select a row and feature to add, So let's go and create active domain services. This is gonna say, yeah, you need to add all this extra bunch of stuff. Yes, we are going to do that. And I always add net framework 3.5 because you never know what it needs. And we are going to do all of this. So again, for me, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but for you, it's gonna go immediately to the next scene. Okay. So the installation is now complete, and it says configuration required. So let's go ahead and promote this guy to our domain controller. So you click on the little flag, and then you go under the sub option, or the whatever, the underlined word, the hyperlinked word, sorry. And then we're gonna click on add forest. What did I say is gonna be the domain? Was it like myoffice.domain? Okay, so this is what we're gonna go with. So root domain name is my domain. Oops, it's myoffice.domain. Sorry. Let's make sure that we don't do any mistakes. myoffice.domain, and that's how we're gonna do it. So it's gonna ask us some additional questions in terms of blah blah blah. We're gonna set up a domain password, and we're gonna leave it at that. Again, because this is not really a production environment that requires high security standard, I'm just gonna put it as password 1. And then the net BIOS name is actually something really interesting. It's, if you don't know what exactly it is, it's basically like the shortcut title for your domain. So this is how it could, your domain could be recognized. Like for example, myofdo. Get rid of this. So next time that we go in and try to access the domain, we could use the net BIOS name. You know what? Just for my office, and this is how it's like the quote-unquote shortcut for it. Anyways, we're gonna click on next. This is perfect for like a keyword of the domain. It doesn't necessarily have to be the domain name itself, and I think it used to be it has to be under 16 characters, something like that. Anyways, so we're gonna make sure that everything is good, and this is this is what I wanted to bring up to you guys. This is one of the warnings that we can actually ignore, because the DHCP server is already taking care of that for us. It's right here. This computer has at least one network adapter that does not have a static IP address assigned to its properties. Blah blah blah. That's perfectly fine, because we don't want it. We don't want the server to do it. We have the router that does it for us. And then this is normal because we're creating a brand new Windows domain. See if it's not detecting it's being delegated, and because we're not really delegating it, we don't really have anything to do with regards to that. Okay, so we are back now, and let's log in with our administrator account. So the administrator account login is kind of necessary because we don't have a domain user created yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you remember the little net BIOS name that we added, and if you noticed how it was placed right before our little username, that's exactly what that type of shortcut it is, instead of writing the whole myoffice.domain / the username of your user. Okay, so One of the configuration that gets changed is in the network settings. What it is under the network interface card, which is active for this server, is that if you go under the IPv4 settings, you're gonna see that it is using itself as a DNS server. Now, in a perfect world, in either case, you can leave it as it is, or you can select the obtain DNS server address automatically. It doesn't really matter because our pfSense installation has it to reference itself. So that this server can reference itself immediately after pfSense does probing its own thing. So we can leave it as 127.0.0.1, or we can just use the automatic setting. Just for demonstrative purposes, let's select the automatic setting and we can go back to the desktop. I just want to, however, let you guys know that you don't have to change that setting. You can leave it as is and it wouldn't make a difference. So now that that's done, let's go and grab the Windows client setting. So this, if we go and we want to join it to a domain, right, like we would go through any normal user, we're gonna connect. I think that's how it was done. Yeah, we don't want to use it with the Microsoft account. We just want to select the local domain. We're going to join this device to a local Active Directory domain. And the domain name is myoffice.domain. Now, if we click on next, I think the first time it's going to reject us, and then the second time it's going to let us through. I've had hit and miss results with this, but let's give it a shot. Okay, domain not. Oh, interesting. Check the domain name and try again. Alright, let's see. And then review. I'm doing this because I did change the size of the DHCP pool that I'm using, so it might be necessary. I don't know just yet. Okay, so let's do that again. Alright, so my office.domain. Huh, interesting. Okay, so this is supposed to work because we do have it set up as a DNS server. Oh, okay. I know what I did wrong. Okay, so let's go back into our pfSense installation. So even though we have this as a DNS server, we have not specified what is the domain for this. So, man, hold on. Okay, I have to remember how to do it. I think it was under DHCP server. Okay, so it should be okay then. But why isn't it? DNS resolver. I think that's the one that I'm looking for. I think. Why is this not? Whatever. So this is what we're kind of looking for. We're gonna enter the domain in the domain override. I don't know why it doesn't. It should be working, but for whatever reason it does. So let's just say myoffice.domain. The address is from what we have set up to our IP, and then the description is domain controller. We're gonna click on save, and then we're just gonna make sure that we're gonna register DHCP. So now that's all set up, we're gonna come back here, and it's gonna automatically detect our domain. Notice that it honestly it should have worked according to pfSense's documentation. That domain override option is not necessary. It only required if you have multiple domains on your network. So if you have domain 1, 2, and 3, this is when you're going to be specifying that according to whatever domain you are trying to join, this is the domain controller that you're going to be contacting. But if you only have one domain, for some reason, I don't know if there's a huge possibility, there's probably the most probable option is that what I'm doing is I'm probably missing an option, hence why the domain override is required. But if you only have one domain, pfSense should be able to recognize and point you to the proper DNS server. But I digress. Let's just log into the domain, and we'll call it a day. We're gonna, yeah, you know what, we're gonna use this next, and then we're gonna restart this now. This is basically what I wanted to show you guys. So my off /, administrator, and then that's, it'll auto detect the domain, it'll auto detect the user. Sorry, no, it will not auto detect the user, but it will recognize the domain that you're trying to connect to if you're only using the NetBIOS name instead of the full domain. It works both ways. It doesn't matter if you're using the full domain name or the NetBIOS. But like I mentioned earlier, just if you're using the NetBIOS domain, the NetBIOS name, sorry, you are essentially just taking a little bit of a shortcut. And then we're gonna enter our password, and we are logging in as a domain joined computer for the first time onto the Windows client. So it will take a little bit of time. Okay, so now that we're here, the last thing that we're gonna do for today is we're gonna join our TrueNAS, and oh no, oh man, I forgot about this. New account, new me. Okay, so we are going to I think that was it. Yes, that is it. Okay, so perfect. Okay, here we are. So there's two things that we need to do. First off, I need to rename I just need to rename the host name, and then we are just going to add it to man, I forget how to do this. It's been a hot minute. Okay, hold on. I think it was under network. Yes, there we go. Okay, so under network, we are just going to call it fs for file server, and then myoffice.domain. And because we already have that all set up in our pfSense installation, we can leave it as is. Once this is done, it'll give us completed, and then we're gonna go under directory services, and then we're gonna join Active Directory. My domain.office, no, my office.domain, and then I think and then we're gonna click on save. Sorry, I forgot. We need to enable. We need to click on the enable for the requiring of the password, and then we click on save, and this is where it'll join into the Active Directory. So now that we are officially joined in, we can go under storage. We're gonna create a pool. I have added 5 100 gigabyte partitions into this, and we're just gonna add storage, and it is giving us a RAID Z2, which is exactly what I was looking for. It's essentially the same thing as RAID 6. Just under ZFS, and that is usage of 3 hard drives with 2 spares. So if anything happens, you can have up to 2 drives that fail before losing your data. And I know it's not really necessary, just for show and tell purposes, I guess. Oh, what? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Huh, okay. Yes, I want to create it. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Cool, whatever. I mean, it's probably just a one-off on TrueNAS, but we'll deal with it later. Anyways, it did create our storage. We are using the default values, and we're just gonna add a data set. And if I remember correctly, oh man, hold on, I goofed that all up. Nope, I don't want to add another data set. I just want to modify this data set. Edit options, there we go. We just want to make sure. Oh no, okay. I think I might have goofed this one up a little bit, but let's, I just want to test it for the sake of testing it. And, no, I don't want this. Oh, I am a little tired today. So, if I write / file server, I think it's gonna deny me access to it. Okay, yeah. How was the thing done again? Hold on, I'm fumbling a little bit. Give me just a second. I'm sure. Nope. I need this. I'm fumbling a little bit. Give me just a sec. Oh yeah, I forgot to this. We're gonna add here, and then we're gonna enable this. I think this is what I forgot. We're just gonna leave it at home, and perfect. So, if I go back here, loop back my file server, I think it's still gonna deny me, huh? Okay. Go on. Go away. Uh-oh. I lost the mouse. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. I vaguely remember reading in the documentation that once you join TrueNAS inside a domain, it's the domain that takes control over the file sharing and the username structure and all that. I don't know why it's not being nice to me. I even lost access to the mouse. Whatever. Well, that just means that this is where I have to stop the video. I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you guys with a follow-up on that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.